All right, what's going on? Anthony Joshua just won a unanimous decision in a world heavyweight unification bout with against Joseph Parker. It was a very tactical fight, and while I guess no one would call it the most exciting fight that they've seen, there was action in the fight. There was, I mean, this wasn't exactly John Ruiz versus Hasim Rahman, and he won by the scores of 118, 110 twice, and 119, 109. Look, everybody out there who is not a pure boxing fan, they're looking at this and they're like, man, the fight was boring. I mean, AJ got exposed. I mean, Parker won the fight, so on and so forth. And I'm like, well, I don't like throwing CompuBox numbers out there. I mean, I understand that those numbers are subjective. I'll do it here. Listen, Anthony Joshua has knocked out every man he's faced. Now, his last two stoppages are debatable. I don't have a problem with that. But he even if he didn't stop those guys, he's pretty much beaten up or stopped everyone he's faced at the let's try this again. Faced at the professional level. But some nights, especially with the guy, it's, I think one of the most telling things was his post-fight interview where he was like, listen, man, I'm only 21 fights in and I'm unified, fighting all these undefeated guys. He is the IBF, the IBO, the WBO, and the WBA champion in his 21st fight. Does the kid have flaws? Absolutely. Many of them defensively. Some on the offensive side also. But while everybody wanted this to kind of top Wilder's performance, and I understand you connect everybody, but these dudes are distinct from each other. Like, everybody was looking at, okay, so here's the thing. What I'm trying to say is, in certain fights, it's business as usual. Sometimes it's just a hard day at the office. You go in, you put your hard hat on, and you work, and you win. And I think that speaks a lot when he fought a difficult opponent like Joseph Parker and went the distance. We've seen Anthony Joshua fade at times, like in the mid rounds, and I'm not saying that he didn't. Parker didn't step on the gas. He didn't do enough offensively, especially in those rounds where Joshua gets tired. And they did the little tape trick with the glove so that the tape comes loose, and ordinarily the referee stops the fight and tapes guy up. That's one of the oldest tricks in the book. And it's just his corner looking out for him. I mean, just like Muhammad Ali when he got dropped and seriously hurt, and he went to the corner and they cut the gloves or what have you, and then they had to do whatever. I mean, it was his corner looking out for him. Ali, as you hear the old grandfather clock going off in the background. It's almost 9 o'clock, so you'll hear 9 tones in the background before the clock stops. So, speaking of timing, I timed this wrong. Forgot where I was, but anyway, it was just one of those, put your hard hat on and it's another day at the office. And I'm probably more impressed with how he handled it. He got buzzed a couple of times, and he landed some power shots of his own. I think this fight was won with a few things. That jab to the body that we... Let me put it this way. Sometimes when there's a key to victory and a guy does it and he wins, that's one thing. But if he would have done it more, I think he would have had a better result. It would have resounded better with fans. So he out-jabbed Parker 93 to 49. All right? 93 to 49, he out-jabbed Parker. And he threw 46 fewer jabs than Parker. So he threw 46 fewer jabs, but outlanded him by almost 50. Like 40, what is that? 44. He outlanded him by 44 jabs, but he threw 46 less. I mean, that's a big number. I think if he would have jabbed downstairs more, he would have been fine. I thought that another thing I wish he would have done is he outlanded Parker 46 to 40 in his body shots. And he outlanded him 29 to 11 in those jabs to the body. I think if he would have upped that and threw a lot more, he would have had a better result, or a better look. Maybe the same result. Maybe it still would have been a distance fight. I thought he hurt Joseph Parker at the end of the 4th round. He threw a right to Parker's body. I thought that took a little bit of steam out of Parker. Of course, a round or two later was kind of like when Joshua kind of starts to have a stamina issue, and then if you can get him there before he gets his second wind, then you might be on to something. Parker didn't do that. Parker looked like he looked like Billy Joe Saunders in there defensively, or Tyson Fury at times with the irking and jerking his head and his body, almost like he's having a seizure at some points. And it was effective movement, but he really wasn't doing anything. It was good for him defensively, but you have to bring the offense. And I thought that in the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, and definitely, most definitely the 8th round. So the 8th, you could say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I really thought Joshua came on strong. Now, when the scores came up close to the midway point, and Steve Farhood at Showtime had it even, I disagreed. I thought Joshua was up a couple of points. So when I saw Steve Farhood's card change, and I think his final score was 117-112, which means he threw a 10-10 round in there, then I agree with it. I didn't agree with his round by round scoring, but anybody that had a 118-110, 117-112, 117-111, 116-112, something along those lines, That's fantastic. See, everybody's putting their resentment, their anger, whatever word you want to use on Anthony Joshua. But you go back and tell me what rounds Parker won. I mean, convincingly won. I mean, we can go round by round. Look, if a guy throws 50 punches and lands 5, and another guy throws half of that, 26 punches, and lands 8, and none of them are like major league bombs or what have you, who wins the round? Okay, so I'll take round 1. Parker was 5 for 50. You understand? He landed 10% of his punches. Joshua was 8 for 26. He landed 31%. So think about what you're saying. Parker threw 50 punches and he only landed 5. That's 10%. Joshua only threw half that amount, 26 punches, but he landed 8, 3 more for 30%. So how do you score that? That's the question. If taking one factor into consideration, there wasn't one big shot landed by either guy, I think you know the answer to the question. So round 2, Parker was 9 for 39, 23%. Joshua was 8 for 30, 26%, 27%. So Parker landed more. So as I go through the fight, let's go round by round and see who landed the most punches. I know that's subjective also, because you're not taking into consideration what type of punches. But I'm setting something up. So first round, Joshua 8, Parker 5. Second round, Joshua 8, Parker 9. Third round, Joshua 12, Parker 11. Fourth round, Joshua 13, Parker 5. Fifth round, Joshua 10, Parker 9. Sixth round, we had it even, 12 punches landed apiece. Seventh round, Joshua 10, Parker 7. Eighth round, Joshua 18, Parker 5. Ninth round, Joshua 9, Parker 8. 10th round, Joshua 11, Parker 8. 11th round, Joshua 13, Parker 12. Final round, 12th, Joshua 15, Parker 10. Alright, let's look at the jabs. Round 1, 5 to 3, Joshua. Round 2, 5 to 4. Round 3, 8 to 6. Round 4, 9 to 3. Round 5, 8 to 5. Round 6, 6 to 2. Round 7, 8 to 4. Round 8, 11 to 4. Round 9, 7 to 3. Round 10, 7 to 5. Round 11, 10 to 4. Round 12, 9 to 6. So he outlanded jabs. He won every round as far as the jabs. For the power punches, Parker outlanded Joshua 52 to 46. Joshua landed at 41%. Parker landed at 30%, 29.5 to 40.7. I'm rounding them off. So overall, Anthony Joshua landed 36% of his punches to 20% for Parker. So it's like I'm trying to figure out where the outrage comes from, and I hear the fanboys, and when I say fanboys, I'm talking about boxing journalists, man. I mean, listen, just call the fights, call stuff straight down the line. Does Joshua need a lot to work on? Absolutely. But when I hear, oh, now we know why he's not fighting. Now you know why he didn't want to fight Wilder. They made an offer to Wilder. He turned it down. Deontay Wilder is a man who never made $2 million until his last fight. AJ makes $20 million per fight. Like, that's his number. Like that's the least he's going to make in every fight. I think he took a little bit of a pay cut in this fight. It was like $18.9 million because you had to pay. Listen, you had to pay 7, 8, 9 million to Parker. So, hey, had to take a little bit of a pay cut. But on the back end, guess what? He'll make more than he made with Takam, where he did get over 20 million as a guarantee. So, but everybody's talking about, now we see why he didn't want to fight him, or we see why he's scared and he needs more fights. But hey, so what? This is fight number 21. I mean, how many people can say that at age, or I'm sorry, by fight number 20 or 19 that they were unified? Meaning they had, he had 3 belts already coming into this fight. So he was kind of like already there. But here's the question, or here's the thing I'm saying. So what if he needs more fights? He's only 21 fights in, and he has 4 belts, and he's looking to get the final piece to be undisputed, undefeated and undisputed, which is rare. So people are saying, well, Wilder's going to destroy him. That big right hand, so on and so forth. And I'm like, you're riding the wave. Wilder is hot right now, but weren't we saying the same thing about Wilder a few fights ago? Like, oh man, this guy isn't ready for AJ. Now we're jumping ship and saying the same, because this guy's gotten buzzed a few times. He's gotten dropped. But you weren't saying that when Deontay Wilder was fighting this USC football player who pretty much was up 5 rounds to nothing before Wilder caught him. What about Duhaupas, who was up? I don't care what the card says, what the cards were saying at the time. What about Eric Molina? Eric, the drummer boy, Molina, that's his real name, who was 1 punch away from knocking Deontay Wilder out, or down at least, in Alabama. You see, I hate using boxing terms like styles make fights and all that. I try my best not to use them, but I'm going to use one this time. It's called knockouts cause amnesia. People forget what happened in those fights before Wilder knocked them out. He was going life and death with guys. He was down on scorecards. He wasn't ready for the big time. Now he appears to be, but don't act like you weren't saying that about Wilder then, and now you're saying it about Anthony Joshua now, because Wilder has a feather in his cap now with his win over Ortiz. I mean, come on, man. He was down in that one, despite what the scorecards say. So, I don't know. But what I'm going back to what I was saying, I thought, despite all of the numbers, I thought that some of the more telling blows were landed by Joshua. If you get a chance to watch the replay, and I can't tell you exactly when it happened, but after the fight was over, Showtime went back and started showing their keys to victory to try to prove that Joshua did some of their keys. So they start talking about, I think it was he had to throw the jab, the left hook, and I forgot what the other key was. But somewhere around then, they start showing some action from the fight, and it wasn't slow motion instant replay. It was like you could hear the sounds as if you were watching it live. And then they took the camera and kind of honed in to make it look bigger, like up close, instead of your typical way of watching it, as if you were like in the fifth row, like the way it comes on your television set. Just turn your TV up and listen to the shots that AJ landed. He threw a jab. They were showing how effective his jab was, and then he threw a left hook at one point, and a right hand, I think, and another time. But listen to the shots, man. Let me tell you something. Those were some big boy shots, and I see why Parker was on his back foot. And don't get it twisted. Just like his countryman, David Tua, Joseph Parker has, if you ranked people on 1 to 10, like defense, power punching, such and such, when you get to chin, Joseph Parker has a 10 plus chin, just like David Tua. Lennox Lewis hit David Tua all night with hard shots, and the Tua man took him. But when I saw that close up and heard how those shots hit Parker, I'm telling you, if those same shots hit anybody else but Parker, including Deontay Wilder, he would have went down and possibly out. So this was a good win for him. Good win, going the distance. Even the 10 and a half or 10 plus rounds that he went with Klitschko. And then deep into the fight against Carlos Takam. I think this is all the education of Anthony Joshua. Now, I'm going to get on a conference call. Deontay Wilder has a conference call on Tuesday. I'm going to get on that call. I don't know if it has anything to do with him just trying to take some of the thunder away and steal some of the press clippings, or if he's going to announce something like a fight with Adam Konaski or Dominic Breazeale. I don't know, but it's kind of weird that he would be having a conference call. I don't know if I said press conference. If I did, I meant conference call. I'm going to hop on a conference call. When I get off, I'll let you know what it was about. It might be a quick video. I'll probably be at work, so I'll just shoot something with probably no picture at all on my phone and just post it to let you know what's going on with that. So that'll be interesting to see what that's all about. And I thought Deontay Wilder was classless with some of the commentary he made over the weekend when he talked about he wanted some bodies on his record. Especially fighting in New York. The same New York who saved his butt in between rounds against Ortiz. Nobody still able to explain that. And the same New York that had to fork out excuse me, $22 million a few years ago in a personal injury lawsuit against Magomed Abdusalamoyev. when he fought, what's my man's name? Shoot. Abdul Salamov. Who did he fight? Mike Perez. And it cost him his career and almost his life. So for Wilder to talk about he wants a body on his record, and you know that his hand is like a weapon, like a gun, and so on and so forth, and if somebody's trying to get him, he needs to defend himself or something like that. I mean, like, dude, stuff like that, they'll look at something like that in this politically correct world these days, and they'll man, 5-0, the cops, they'll show up at your door, man, to check you out, to make sure. Boxing, if it was any other sport that had rules, boxing would pull them aside and listen, man, we could suspend you for saying something like that. But anyway, so we'll see. As I told you, about 15 videos ago, we'll see you in 2019 for that fight. I just don't think it's going to happen in 2018. If I'm wrong, it's okay. I'll come on here and admit it, because you guys are waiting for me to really be wrong. I know you are. I tell you what, I was wrong about this because I had it as a late stoppage. Part of the reason I don't think a stoppage happens outside of him jabbing more and jabbing also to the body and throwing body punches is that Anthony Joshua was 12 pounds lighter for this fight, which is good in one sense, because I'd like to see him lose some of that bulk, that bulk, and then have that lean muscle, not be so muscular and so bulky. Now, he did that, it appears. However, he did it in a training camp. I'm talking about over the course of months, changing your physique. Kind of like Vladimir Klitschko. If you look at Vladimir Klitschko, who fought Samuel Peter, and then the Vladimir Klitschko who fought Anthony Joshua, he just was lean, man. He was lean, and he preserved. He was a machine. If you look at Rocky Balboa, if you want something that's not real, that's fantasy, look at Rocky Balboa when he fought Clubber Lang in the second fight. You understand? I mean, Rocky looked like a welterweight. And but while I liked him losing that bulk, I think he may have left a little bit of it in camp, in training, and then he came out and he was a little more flat than he wanted to be. Bottom line is, he went a hard 12. You got to take your hat off to Joseph Parker. He's a bit more easier to hit than AJ showed tonight. He did make him miss the right hand. He took the right hand away, but that jab set up some shots. He landed a couple of hooks at points in the fight. Parker, to his credit, he landed a couple of shots that I think got Joshua's attention, but when you look at the replay, the shots either didn't land or Joshua's reaction was to the point where if you were a bad judge and you saw that, you would give the round to Parker, but then when you watch the replay, you see that those shots didn't land, or they hit parts of the body, not the chin, or they didn't land as hard as Joshua would have had you believe when it happened live, and that the blind Showtime guys were oohing and ahhing about. And then when you saw the replay, you're like, well, that wasn't anything. I think the reason is that Joshua needs to take ballet lessons. He needs to work on his footwork. He was a bit clumsy in there, and we've seen it in the past. And shots that you think are worse than what they are, when you, oh, he's in trouble, oh, he's hurt, and then you watch the replay and it's like, nah, he just was uncoordinated and it appeared to be more hurt. than you actually thought. So he's not a perfect man. He's not a perfect fighter. He's a rich man, and he's gonna make $1 billion if he keeps winning. I'm telling you. You heard it here numerous times. So we'll see. We'll see if Eddie Hearn comes to the table. Now we're gonna see what happens, because if it happens, I don't want anybody to make any accusations, because they accused Sergey Kovalev or Kovalev, Kovalev, excuse me, as people say, Kovalev, take your pick. When he couldn't get the Adonis Stevenson fight on, and then they tried to change the terms or whatever, Kovalev did exactly what Jamal Charlo is accusing Daniel Jacobs of. Well, he accused him on Twitter, and then when Jacobs stepped to him, Charlo stayed up against that wall and acted like he didn't know what time it was. This is the last, supposedly the last fight of the Showtime contract, okay? If HBO, who people are criticizing, fall behind, and because they're saying that they fell behind Showtime, and Showtime is putting on better fights, and what the heck's happened to HBO and now ESPN. Listen, HBO has been saving money so that they can make an offer to Anthony Joshua, and I'm going to tell you why it was a smart move by HBO. Eddie Hearn has taken Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Eddie Hearn has taken Daniel Jacobs. And there's a third fighter who I can't recall. I can't remember who it was. But he's taken those two guys who were Showtime guys, and now they're fighting on HBO. Eddie Hearn. Okay, same Eddie Hearn who's Matchroom Boxing, right? Who's the promoter of Anthony Joshua. If HBO submits a better package or a better deal for Anthony Joshua's services than Showtime, and he jumps, I don't want anybody saying he's running from Deontay Wilder. He doesn't need Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder made his first $2 million in his last fight. He's never made $2 million. AJ's making 20, 25, 40 million, depending on who the opponent is, per fight. He can stay in the UK for the next 5 years. Do you understand what I'm saying? He's getting over $20 million a fight, and that's on the low end. And I'm gonna tell you something else, ladies and gentlemen. That's before the back end money, and that's before. That's not including his endorsements that I think are more than 15 million a year. Don't quote me. Don't quote me. So, and he's fighting in front of not 9,000 people. He's fighting in front of 80,000. What was the Klitschko? 97,000, 95,000? I don't remember. I mean, did you see how electric the crowd was during the fighter entrances? I've been in some electric. Listen, I've been in an electric atmosphere, especially that Cotto versus Margarito 2 fight that was in New York. I was there. Maybe the loudest crowd I've ever heard in my life. Guess what? It pales in comparison to what I witnessed at a lot of these UK fights. The Ricky Hatton fights, if you can remember those. So, but if HBO, I'm telling you, if they sign Anthony Joshua, it's a wrap, because all the UK fighters will come behind him and sign deals to fight on HBO, because he paved the way. He's like the whatever. He'll be like the Jackie Robinson of UK boxing on HBO. I mean, he'll pave the way for others to come. And if they're already under the Matchroom banner, the Eddie Hearn banner, then he's automatically going to kind of negotiate deals for a lot of them to come over and follow AJ over to the lands of the Yankees. And that would mean Amir Khan and Kell Brook and Scotty Quigg, Anthony Crolla, who else, man? Callum Smith, Derek Chisora, Dillian White, Josh Kelly, who got a big win, Luke Campbell, Paul Smith, what are the two big dudes' name? Daniel Dubois. Is he part of or is that Frank Warren? Well, anyway, Anthony Yard and Daniel Dubois might follow suit. They're going to be big names that you hear in the future. So, listen, we'll see what happens. I think both fighters can say what look, if the fighters want it, they can do it. But listen, there's so much money. Both guys will make. Remember, there was an offer on the table for about $7 million for Deontay Wilder, plus the TV rights which would have that could have took him to $15 million. And if you're talking about a guy who never made $2 million, and we're talking about getting you $10 million, like 10 times what you've made, and you turn it down, well, I mean, hey, who are you mad at? So sometimes you have to look at the numbers and market value. I understand Wilder has something that Joshua wants, which is to be undisputed. He needs that final belt. But when you see, they want Joshua to change the game. When you talk about market value, like, come on, do you think Joseph Parker was worth $7-8 million, but he got it? No, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. He got 7 million British pounds. So let me see something here. If 13 million British pounds is like almost $19 million. 13, so that's 6 million. What is that going off on my? What is that going off on my? So wait a minute. So if wait a minute, let me do the math here. If AJ got 13 million British pounds, all right, let's lowball him. So that's about 18 something. Let's round it off to 19. So that's 6 million. So realistically, Joseph Parker got about, if we're adding 6, got about $13 million. If 7 million, and you guys can do the math. If 13 million British pounds is like $19 million, then if I apply that same principle, then 7 million should be 13. Let me do something real quick. $7 million British. $7 7 million British pounds. Okay, yeah. I figured it wouldn't do that. So he got about $10 million. That's Joseph Parker. I mean, come on. Would you have taken that if you was Joseph Parker? I mean, come on. So, we'll see. And you guys act like Wilder don't have any flaws, man. They both are flawed fighters. They both have to go to the drawing board. I'd like to see Deontay Wilder develop that left hand, so he'll have a left hook. I mean, if he hits that hard with his right hand, if they continue to develop at age 30, whatever he is, and 40 fights in, I don't know how much development, unless you have an offensive trainer who understands how to do that. Joshua, I'd like to see him go to the body more. Definitely work on his footwork, because Deontay Wilder is going to have an advantage, an athletic advantage. And Parker had that same advantage with his footwork. He used it. He didn't use it enough to win on Saturday night, but you got to take your hats off to him. And he knew he lost. He said it in the ring. Look, I lost to the better man, and he feels he can be a champion again. And we'll see. We'll see. I thought he fought the fight of his life, to be honest. And I don't think Joshua fought the fight of his life. And when you bring one up and one down a little bit, you get something like this today. But lastly, the referee, yes, I've never seen anything on the internet where everyone agrees with one point. The referee was terrible, but where I disagree with most people is I think he was terrible toward both guys. Did he look out for Joshua once or twice? Maybe. But there were times where it's like, dude, here's a little bit of sustained action, and then you just jump in like, come on, man. So he when you remember who the referee is, or remember the referee in a fight, that's not a good thing. And he was bad on both ends. I mean, he didn't help the fight at all. So what can you say? Catch you on the next one.